What up? What up? What up? We are live. What's going on? Y'all ready?
Hey,
let's do this.
We stay ready.
This is I am so excited. This is our Wednesday conversation, our What's Next conversation. Before we actually really jump into this, obviously we want to do introductions and all that good stuff. However, I just want to point out that we all have masks on and we are distanced. So I'm just letting you know, everybody's watching, we got masks on and we're distanced, okay? That's the key, right? So I just want to throw that out there. So, welcome to our Global Entrepreneurship Week event, sponsored by Plex Pod, which we're here in the building right now, sponsored by Square One Business Services, sponsored by Digital Sandbox, the Kaufman Foundation. Am I leaving out somebody else?
Have a sponsor.
Kansas City. That's it. Yeah, Kansas City represent. All right. So, what we do is we're just going to keep this the same way we normally do it. We're not going to change it up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around and allow everybody to introduce themselves first, and then we'll go into some shout-outs, and then we'll get into our discussion. Okay? Sound good?
Forgot my shout-out.
You got your shout-outs? You ready? All right. So let's start over there with Morgan. Introduce yourself, Morgan, and then we'll come back around this way.
Hey everybody, it's Morgan from the Mid-Continent Public Library Square One Small Businesses team. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. There has been more buzz about this episode than any of the other episodes we've done yet, and I think that is exactly how it should be.
Absolutely.
Hello.
Oh, let me hold on. just while I'm talking. Hello, everyone. My name is Carolina McKinney, and I am the founder and CEO of Spotify, which is a web-based platform that helps online shoppers find the best brands for their bodies. And I am so excited to be here with all these lovely ladies and gent, and I cannot wait to dive into the conversation.
Thank you so much. I am Tammy Buckner. I am the founder of Tequity Digital and co-founder of Recode KC. Tequity Digital is a technology platform. And of course, Recode KC, we expose technology to youth in the urban core of Kansas City. We are so excited to be here.
Tammy, I just want you to know that we got Felicia Hatcher. She's on the stream with us. I'm just letting you know.
Yes! Felicia, know that she is my woman crush.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Felicia.
Let's get these introductions going.
Yes. I am Janae Gamage, founder of the Marketplace, and we are a marketing software that provides on-demand marketing teams to founders. Yes. And also very excited to be here with these lovely ladies.
Yes.
Awesome. And so let's let our guests that's in our stream introduce themselves as well. From our screen, looks like Indu is at the top over there. So Indu, if you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll just go down.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm super happy to be here. My name is Megan Koa, and I lead marketing over at Digital Sandbox KC. Really excited for this conversation and can't wait to just listen and learn.
Okay. Hi, I'm Dr. Shelly Cooper. I'm CEO and co-founder of Sure Show. It's a revenue-generating platform that replaces no-show medical appointments with billable telehealth visits. And I'm glad to be here, ready to add to the conversation.
Hey everyone, I feel like I want to be at this party that's live in person.
You should be.
This outside being open. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. My name is Felicia Hatcher. I am the co-founder of Center for Black Innovation, based in Miami, but we do work throughout the country. And we are a Black tech and startup think tank and an organization committed to building stronger and more prosperous Black tech ecosystems program. So on the research side, on the training side, on the policy side, and then convening and creating really dope spaces where innovation can thrive in Black communities.
Awesome. Hey, really quick, Felicia, before we go to Jill, you had some really cool stuff that just happened this past week. What was that? What was going on there?
Yeah, we had a big announcement last week. We got $2.1 million in investment between Knight Foundation, Certain Foundation, and NBC Universal to launch the Center for Black Innovation.
That is fantastic.
No, congratulations. That's awesome. That's awesome. And Jill.
Yes, and that is fantastic news. Congratulations. I am Jill Meyer, and I am with the Iamd.c Innovation Center running our Tech Venture Studio, of which Digital Sandbox is one of those programs, and very excited to be a part of this evening and to listen to these lovely ladies and learn and hear what we can do as well. So thank you for having me.
Awesome, welcome, and thank you all again for joining us. Sharon wishes he could have been here. He is like really hurt that he couldn't be here because he knew that this was going to be a really awesome panel and a really awesome discussion. But he unfortunately couldn't be here. So I know he's watching. So shout out to Sharon, business partner, Porterhouse KC. I can't talk. It's like I'm nervous. So we don't have anybody in the audience. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's different. So let's go into our shout outs. So I'm going to start with my shout outs if you guys don't mind. Because sometimes my shout outs get stolen and then the luster is gone after I shout my folks out. Then it's kind of like, you know?
It's Sharon. Sharon steals his shout outs.
He does. So again, I want to shout out the Kaufman Foundation for all their help and their support. PlexPod, James Bryant, he actually is the man behind the switcher, and so Pastor Bryant, we appreciate you doing all this.
Yes.
We literally have never rehearsed this fully, right? We just literally marked some spaces and was like, hey, this looks good, right? Like, you gotta figure it out. So this is dope, dope finishing product. Chess Inc., our partner organization, really deeply appreciate them. Mid-Continent Public Library for their support. And then I already gave a shout out to Sharon, my wife and kids. I think they're out there watching. Hopefully, if not, you know what? I'll talk to you later. And then also Digital Sandbox. We appreciate you guys' support. So who's next? Who's got some shout outs?
Let's just go in order. Unlike you, I don't have an iPad. I didn't write anything beforehand. So if I missed someone, I apologize. Okay. Shout out to the team, my co-founder, Murad. Everybody on the team, Monique, Dominique, Michelle, etc., Maria. All right. Anyway, and the Kansas City ecosystem, Donald from Casey Collective and Bo, Tech Venture, which we completed, Sally and Ryan, Life Changers, the library, small business. Thanks, Morgan. Who am I missing? Digital Sandbox, obviously. Boom, we got that grant. Velocity Summit, got that pitch competition. So OHub, everybody that's helped the marketplace get here, and of course all my family, my parents, my spouse, everybody, friends.
No, there you go. There you go.
So I forgot about the shout out. So my goodness, I can't even believe this. Many times I do it. Like, I know, I'm a vet, and I'm like, I forgot about my shout outs. So I want to shout out to all of the youth, especially at Recode KC. So proud of each and every one of you. All of our volunteers, our mentors, Dr. Philip Hickman, Nicole Urban. Let me see, all the people that are on our team, Jalen, Shanita, just want to thank you for being a part. Of course, everyone that's sponsoring this, Casey SourceLink, and the entire Startup Foundation ecosystem. We're just so excited to be here. Kansas City overall, and of course, Kaufman Foundation as well. So thank you for being here.
Shout outs. So I'm gonna shout out my son. He's absolutely not watching right now. But I love you, mommy loves you. Shout out to the KC ecosystem. Shout out to the Innovate Hers. All of the Innovate Hers on the chat watching near and far. Shout out to my soror on the panel with us as well, Dr. Shelly Cooper. Shout out to Jill. Shout out to the OHubs people, the new me people, Brian Brackeen, Candace Brackeen. They're awesome. Shout out to Neil. He's watching from Miami somewhere, my developer. and just everyone, Donald, Roy, the trifecta, all the folks that make everything that we founders do possible and fun. You guys make it fun. So shout out to everyone on the stage. Thank y'all for showing up. He's like, I didn't have anywhere else to be. It is a pandemic.
True.
I'm going anywhere.
Again, nobody is in the audience. Just let you know.
Oh my gosh. Shout out to Porterhouse KC because you have allowed me to join you for this. And this is maybe the most important thing I do. It's definitely the most important thing I've done since mid-March. So thanks for letting me come along on this journey. Janae, you've now given the library two time periods that you probably need to be doing something else with. Thank you for that.
No problem.
And thank you to each and every one of the people that has come on the show in the past 36 Wednesdays.
37, I think.
37 Wednesdays we've been doing this now, and we wouldn't be doing this show if you all hadn't come on and showed us and joined us for those other shows. So thank you.
Absolutely. Oh, so our guests that are in our stream, you guys got to get some shout outs in there as well. So let's start bottom up this time. So Jill, you throw your shout outs out there first.
You bet. So first and foremost, a shout out to all of you. I am just privileged and honored to get to be a part of the ventures that you all are working on and what you're doing, and to see what has been happening. A big shout out to the Uamd.c Innovation Center, the team that I get to work with every day. They are just a bunch of incredibly dedicated people, dedicated to entrepreneurship, making it easier and better, finding ways to help small businesses genuinely make a difference. And it's terrific for me to be able to work with them. Huge shout out to Kaufman for making our programs happen, for making the commitment that they give to all of us so that we can do these things that we get to do each day. And then my family, and it happens to be my daughter's birthday, so shout out there as well. And just really happy to be here, so thank you.
Awesome. Miss Felicia?
Yeah, one shout out to all the dope women on this stage. You too, Dan, you too. My team for sure, my husband, who is also my business partner, I call him my entrepreneurial bae. My kids, the babysitter who is keeping them from not coming on to this session right now, for sure. Our whole Center for Black Innovation team.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
It got choppy a little bit. So it got a little choppy, but we're good. We're back. I think we're good. Felicia, also shout out to you on a Spotify panel this morning, and then coming to do our Black Women in Tech panel this evening. So that was dope. Appreciate that. Dr. Cooper?
Okay, I just have a few. I think I'm repeating everybody, but they've all done so much. So also to my colleagues there on the stage, congratulations to all of you. Shout out to you. Shout out to my husband, my kids, my grandkids. Also to my show team, Dr. Mo and others, advisors. To, of course, Digital Sandbox, OHUB, Her Rise New York, SBDC, TC, I always get those letters. To move to Pure Cook Rally, which was a life-changing event, Velocity Kids, Tech Venture, and also Women's Academy out of Salt Lake City. That's the accelerator that I just finished. So anybody else I'm going to miss, I appreciate you, and thank you for the support, and looking forward to the next event.
Awesome. And then last but not least, MD.
So my shout out is going to be to just everyone participating on the panel. I followed all of your work for some time now, and I really admire everyone on stage and everyone tuning in virtually. So super thankful to be a part of this conversation. Shout out to Digital Sandbox KC. the UMKC Innovation Center, Porterhouse KC, and everyone that worked to bring this event together. So again, super happy to be here.
Dope. Awesome. So let's get into the questions. Okay. So my first question is, what's the best thing about being a Black woman in tech? Can I start with Felicia, absolutely, and then we'll kind of bounce off, and then also let you guys know this is a conversation too. So okay, I'm gonna throw a question out there, but if you feel like piggybacking is the thing, right? Let me piggyback off of it, and that's cool. We can piggyback, so it's all good. So Felicia, you want to start us off? What's the best thing for Black women in tech?
I had time to formulate my thoughts, but let's do it. I would start with something Catherine Finney recently said in a Medium post that she put out earlier this year. And what she said is we build things, right? And I think that is, we build things, we continue to build things. And I think that's one of the best things about being a Black woman in tech, right? Like, as much as we can talk about challenges, there are very unique opportunities that exist for us to really be able to build things in this space and then flourish, right? And then paint, kind of leave the breadcrumbs for all other young people, girls, other female founders to be able to do the exact same thing, if not bigger and better and bolder than the steps that we're currently taking right now.
I'd like
awesome.
I was going to speak to that as well. I think being a Black woman in tech, we show people that it can be done. And with young girls, just like Vice President-elect Kamala Harris mentioned, little ones, girls and boys can see it, they can be it. And when they see that we are making this happen, that we are trying our best and being acknowledged for our accomplishments, I think it encourages other people.
Awesome. So we can bring it here. What do you guys think?
Yeah. To piggyback, to piggyback on what these women were saying, I think the best thing about being a Black woman in tech is the Black woman part. That's like awesome, right? I really do thoroughly enjoy being a Black woman, but also the representation, and it's almost like you can't be a thing until you see a thing. And so if someone sees someone that looks like them, not just looks like them, but also grew up in their neighborhood, also didn't necessarily come from resources, and kind of pulled themselves up by their own bootstraps, which I really hate that phrase, but for lack of a better phraseology at this moment, it lets you kind of know, okay, they did that, I can do that. Mm-hmm. I can do that, and I can do more because I'm starting off earlier. Like, I didn't think that I could be in tech until I was full adult, right? And even when I was in tech, I didn't realize that I was in tech. Mm-hmm. And if some 10 or 12-year-old can see what I've built, what we've built, what we are building, and say to themselves, man, I want to do that, for me, like, that's it. That's the sauce right there.
I love that. Love it. What you think, Tammy?
I think the best part of being a Black woman in tech is, when we are at the table, that our voices must be heard and have to be heard. That we are able to contribute to whatever is being built, whatever is, being developed, that we are in that space. And likely, in most times, that we can be the only one that look like us in that space, but because we are contributing to that development. So I think that's the best part for me.
Love that. So, before you answer, you put out a post that was deep. Dude, it was like the dopest travel through time for me as a Black man. Reading that, it was just really profound. It was really dope. I went to the museum, the African American Museum, history in D.C., and I felt like that was a tour.
I know they have it set up
through that.
I lived in D.C., so I went.
So that was, you were there. Yeah. We didn't get to see the whole space because it was just so much, and you don't have enough time. You got to split it up. Yeah. But your post it took me down that lane. So you know, I want you to expand on that a little bit when you answer this question, because I feel like you got something, and I want to hear it.
What's great about being a Black woman in tech? One, it's great to be a unicorn, of course. That's right. That's right. You know, and I think if we talk about traveling through time and seeing where we came from, where our ancestors came from, and the struggle that they endured and the perseverance that they had to have, I really don't feel like I could have made it in any of those times, to be honest. One, I have such a smart mouth and it just would have never worked. But I also don't like being hot and in the sun. Like I can't do it. But I think it's really important during this time because we are in a period where we're starting to gain a lot more access to things to elevate and accelerate. And people are starting to open their pockets to Black women as founders. And if we're able to take advantage of these opportunities in a way that elevates us, then like she said, you know, representation matters when it comes to growing, to create platforms for younger girls coming up, I think is really important. And this is just the time where that's going to happen. So, yeah, that's what I like about it. I feel like we're kind of pioneers right now. Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that. So, I'm going to go to this next question. We like to start off heavy, right?
Started heavy.
Right? And we felt like that was light, right?
That's good.
You guys are dope, and I think capitalizing on the moment, it means more now than it ever has before. And I guess you could have said the same thing a year ago and a year before that. But I feel like now is that moment that we have to capitalize, because if we don't, we might miss some things. Right? Yes. We might miss some opportunities. And I think that you kind of alluded to that. But what would you say the biggest challenge Black women are facing in tech at this moment?
I'm sorry, I know I'll be light, and I know it'll get heavier as we go along the panel.
Repeat the question.
The biggest challenge you feel like Black women facing.
Oh, this question. Okay.
So you might have many, but like think of what is that one thing that you're just like.
I think the cliche statement. If you don't have a seat at the table, make your own table. And they make it sound like it's as simple as getting some wood from Home Depot and building a table from a video you see on YouTube. It is so hard to say, I'm going to build my own table and really execute in a way, in a space where there's no one like you, so you don't feel supported. And honestly, it becomes a mental health challenge as well, because when you are in a space where you don't feel supported, when you feel like you're alone and you're still, there's no one to validate you because no one believes in you as soon as you walk in the room, huge challenge. Like it comes down to a point where you have to say, excuse me, I'm trying not to curse. It comes down to a point where you have to say, you know, I'm gonna keep it cute. Where you have to say, you know what, F that, and I'm just going to do what I got to do. Nobody's going to validate me. Nobody's going to tell me if I'm wrong. Nobody's going to tell me if I'm right. I have to accept that I'm going to make mistakes, and then I can learn and grow from them, but I'm going to have to do it on my own. So,
I love that. I love that statement.
I think, she's really right on the head. The microaggression, constantly having to prove you belong, constantly, feeling like you're not valued. I mean, it's a challenge, it's a stress. It's a mental stress that women go through, Black women go through in tech. So I think that's the main point of, constantly, having to prove that you belong in that space. and to the point of, even, for example, panels that we constantly get called upon, and it's never about our skills. It's never about, the skill set that you have, but it may just be about just being a Black woman in tech. So we always have to feel like we have to just prove that we are in tech. And, well, let me see what you did. Did you ask that other person? Yeah. So just
that white male. Did you ask that white male?
I was trying not to say that. So I'm trying to be nice.
He said,
it's a conversation. Okay, it's a conversation. It's a conversation. I mean, we have to continue to do that. So I think that's the challenge. That's the stress for me. Yeah.
Okay. So before you go really quick, JB, if you see some comments that are in the comment section over there, I know you got a lot going on down there.
he got all the
job. I promise. It's such a wonderful job. But if you see some comments in the section, hey, if you're tuned in, give us a shout out, give us a fist bump, give us an emoji, something out there. And if you have any questions for these women, definitely post it in the comment section because we want to talk to you too. So we got questions here, but you guys got questions as well. So we want to make sure that we answer those questions. So if you got questions, put them in the comment section. If not, just let us know you're there.
Some of my youth from WeCode, y'all better be there asking questions. Okay.
I'm trying to be succinct here because I can answer this in two ways. So the difficulty about being a Black woman in tech, from working in a corporation, a tech corporation, and then being a Black woman tech founder. There's so much intersectionality, and what makes it difficult in both is that there's this constant loop of, was that because of my gender or was that because of my race? Because there are times where I think things happen because I'm a woman, and it has nothing to do with my race. It just happens because I'm a woman. And then there are things that happen where I'm like, well, how they're different hue, you probably wouldn't have said that to me. And so there's this constant kind of, which one was it that I'm going through all the time? And the intersectionality is just difficult. In the founder world, in the investment world, it's difficult to be other because if you're a tech founder, you're raising money. That's part of what you do. And investors, people, generally want to work with other people that they can relate to. I am a Black mother, single mother, young female Black single mother. Who in the investment community can I relate to, right? And it's an unconscious bias. I absolutely don't think anyone is, I won't say I don't think anyone. I would say I don't, because there's some folks, but I would say I don't think most people are consciously saying, I don't want to invest in her because she's a Black woman. But what they're saying is, I just don't know. There's something about her that I just can't put my finger on it. I just can't put my finger on it. Well, it's because I'm Black, but you can't say that. But yeah, that's kind of.
They just can't put their finger on it.
They just can't put their finger on it. Mm-hmm.
Dr. Cooper, what do you think?
I think don't know what they're talking about. You need somebody else to explain that everyone can understand. I think that's the most when I'm speaking the same language as other people. I think that people have to acknowledge you have the skills, you have the talent, you have the education, you have the background, you have the product that can help people make the world a better place. Are they going to accept it or not? They have to look at that as the final decision.
So Dr. Cooper, if you get it, I'm not sure if it's us or Felicia. Can you hear Dr. Cooper? Did you?
It was muffled.
Okay, so I'm not sure if it's something on the microphone or something over there, but it's real muffled when you're talking. So we really didn't get to hear you clear. So I don't know if
okay. I'll look for a headset.
It's better now.
That was better now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what, can you say that again really quick for us? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. What I was saying was one of the biggest challenges is being underestimated. Having a product or service and being overlooked. And kind of like, as Masaru mentioned, they just can't seem to put their finger on what it is that could possibly be eluding them. But I think what's really important is we have the product, we have the skills, we have the experience, we have the expertise. In some cases, we can save lives, we can make money, we can do a lot of things. People need to look at the product and our service and not anything else when it comes to making a decision about accepting what we're putting out into the world.
I love that.
Okay.
Okay, what do you think, Felicia? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, one ditto what everything that was just said from everyone on the panel. I would have to say it's one of the biggest challenges is time. Like how much people waste our time, how much time is wasted. I'm so sorry I can't read your name, but the young lady that talked about building a table, right? Or telling you that you just got to get a seat at the table, but don't tell you what tables are the right table, so that you're not wasting your time in front of people that are either going to ghost you. That is also the reality for Black founders. Is you get VCs and angel investors on Black stages, and they say a lot of things, and then they don't return phone calls and they don't return emails. We don't have time for that. We don't need that. I'd rather get the no from you really quickly so that I can move on than play games with me. Time is our biggest commodity that we cannot get back. And so I would say people respecting our time more as founders. And if it's a no, say a no so that we can move that on and get to the yes as fast as we possibly can. But it will definitely be that, among all the other stuff.
So I appreciate those answers. And that kind of, a lot of you guys' answers kind of lend to a conversation that we had. We had a panel with Black men in tech, right? And we actually got called out. So I want to say that
it was not supposed to be Black men in tech.
It wasn't.
It ended up.
But it was.
Black men in tech.
Right, but it was.
It was supposed to be.
What are you guys doing on that panel? That was the panel that you called us out on. And you said, where's the Black women in tech panel? And so we said, you're right.
So we're listening.
You know what? We're here because we needed to be here. But Tammy did call us out on that. Well, it wasn't, like Morgan said, it wasn't intentional. But I appreciate you calling us out on this. Of course. But in that panel discussion, what kept coming up was being over-mentored and underfunded, right? That conversation just kept coming. I know Felicia kind of alluded to that as far as time is concerned. Right, I can mentor you, but I don't have money. Yeah. Right, but I have time. I have knowledge, or whatever the case may be. And it's like, okay, you can. There's only so much mentoring that can happen. Before you actually, just run out of time or resources or whatever the case may be, fortitude, whatever it is, from a women in tech's perspective. So. That's something that's pretty big. Indu, you've been around a lot of Black women in tech. I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot. I know Indu just wanted to kind of be a part of the question side of the Q&A. But what's your thoughts on the challenges dealing with working with women and Black women in technology?
So from what I've observed, I guess, these past couple of years, one thing that keeps coming up is oftentimes when Black women create products that are specifically meant, let's say, for Black women, those products are typically viewed as being too niche or not having like too big of a market. And so that's something that I do come across often because I have conversations with Black women founders, and oftentimes when they are developing solutions to some problem, they are problems that the Black women have actually experienced. And so oftentimes if you're pitching your idea to someone that doesn't look like you, it becomes difficult to really explain the fact that there's an actual market for what you're building. So that's something that I'd say comes up often.
Yeah, that's a great observation too. JB, I think you got a couple questions. Man, this guy is so talented. He came up, he said 3 folks that have questions in the audience. And I know Morgan has actually a couple questions that she's scheduled to ask that I can probably ask anyway. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like just our pre-show talk tonight.
Oh, this is
A pre-show talk tonight, we might not need specifically those questions, whereas I'm looking at our feed over here, and dang, there's some good questions in there.
So JB, what's one of those questions? If you could just read it out loud, one of them, and then who it came from, and I'll ask the question.
So Lauren Conway asks,
Of course.
what kind of structures and systems can we allies put in place to support you as a Black woman working in the tech sector?
Okay, Lauren Conway asked, and everybody that's on obviously can see the question, so I don't have to really repeat that. But you said you want to, you got it. What structure?
And I appreciate Lauren. She's a huge ally for the marketplace and myself, and a lot of innovators, women, period. This question gets asked a lot, and it's with good intent. I know there are lots of programs right now for us. There are lots of accelerators for us, and I think we are beyond that. I think it would have had to start. I'm in my 30s, 20 years ago, and seeing some representation and having equitable access to good education. When I was younger, I had no idea what a tech startup was, a tech founder. I had no idea that I could start a tech company. And it would have had to start there. The idea would have had to been planted there. And then I would have needed access to resources, because you cannot start a tech company without resources. So we can talk about funding, we can talk about accelerators, we can talk about mentorship, but those things need to be implemented for young girls now, at that level or that stage in life.
That's a dope answer, because I think, Tammy, that's exactly what.
That's exactly. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, I mean, again, I didn't have these resources. We were talking about that today with De La Salle. I didn't have these resources when I was in high school, when I was in elementary school. And if I had these resources, I mean, I can just imagine where all of us would be right now. So I'm so thankful for Recode KC, the co-founder, and all of the volunteers and mentors that work with our youth. They are amazing. They provide these kids with all types of languages such as Python and React, C++, and these kids are smart. I mean, they are catching on so quickly. So the resources that we are providing is something that I wish I had, at that age. So
I think, just to piggyback, I don't have a good answer for what you can do that's not already being done, but I know what you can stop doing. I know that as a founder, if you are an investor or if you know investors, you can tell them to stop asking Black women if they've raised a friends and family round, as if I have 10 uncles that all have the capability to write me $5,000 checks, right? Like, there's a systemic reason why there isn't enough wealth in Black families to raise an actual friends and family round.
Correct.
So you can tell people to stop discounting founders who haven't done that, because I can't do that. I don't know anybody. Can you do?
I have no generational wealth. Sorry.
There you go. So that question is rooted in an assumption that you have generational wealth. So you tell people to stop asking that question.
So you can't pull yourself up by your bootstrap.
No,
you don't have boots.
If you don't have boots,
okay.
I'm gonna put my straps. But that's one thing. You can stop or tell people, because I know Lauren doesn't do these things. Lauren does not tell people to stop assuming that
if I'm coming to you that I haven't already done the work to get to you.
That's right.
To not ask me, oh, have you talked to any customers? Have you vetted this idea? Nah, I just showed up. I haven't talked to a single person. I haven't asked a single question, because when you ask that to the white man,
Absolutely not.
or would you assume that he's done the work to get here? And I know I'm speaking in generalities, but I've seen it so many times. I have sat through and observed enough conversations with multiple people to see who gets certain kinds of questions and who gets the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly.
So I don't know what you can do, but that's what you cannot do.
Man. Felicia, Dr. Cooper, what you think?
I mean, I don't know how to follow up after that. And hey, Lauren, thanks for asking the question. There are levels to being an ally, right? And so I think we can challenge people to not only be better allies, but can you be a co-conspirator? Can you be an accomplice? And that means you're standing right beside me and right beside Black women in the paint. And not just being on the sidelines and kind of chatting back from a distance. I think we can definitely start there, right? I have a friend that's raising a fund, and as an ally, they make the introduction. What I've seen this person do as a co-conspirator is literally get on every single call after they make the introduction, tee up the right kind of conversations and prompts to make sure that he closes every single conversation. That's an accomplice, right? Right there in the paint, knowing that is what is needed, that kind of the privilege that kind of comes with being in that position, and the nuanced conversations that need to be had, and knowing that you got to play a much bigger role. Yes, that's time consuming, but if we're really talking about affecting change and knowing how things work, that is what is needed. More of that, very intentional about the work, very intentional about getting to the check and getting to the yes. We really need more of that kind of work if we're talking about Black women getting the respectable amount of funding that they need to fund and accelerate their ideas.
Yeah, I would like to agree with you. I was going to push it just one step further from what you were talking about, Felicia. What I'm finding out, and I've lived in Kansas City all my life, there are so many networks that I never knew existed. I mean, even just an example is a Pure Pitch Rally. All the different people that I've spoken with are mentioning organizations and networks that I never knew were here. And I've been driving by these places all my life. So I would say to Lauren, open up the networks. People know where this funding is. People know where these resources are, but it's a closed environment. And if you don't know what you don't know, you're going to continually doing what you've always done. So that would be what my suggestion would be. Make the networks more open so that we can present what we have, which is a viable product, viable services, and get access to the funding that will make our companies much more profitable and move along with those milestones that we want to meet.
Those are some, man. So you guys in the comments, you see what's necessary and what's needed. So we need to start opening up these resources, and start opening up these conversations and become allies, rather than just, hey, let me shoot you an email. And I'm guilty of it too. Somebody will say, hey, I want to get introduced to somebody, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll do an introduction, and that's easy, right? It's easy just to pass somebody along. The allyship comes with, actually, let's get on a Zoom together, and let's get on a three-way call or something like that together, and let's tee up this conversation. I mean, the introduction of networks and resources, it's important. It's all important. I love those. I love that. Do you got Indu? I'm gonna come to you. I know you got a question, and I think this kind of goes in line. Actually, Indu, let's go ahead and get your question, because I think that your question is a good tie-in to this conversation. So, Indu?
Yeah, absolutely. So my question is, who would you say is leading the way in regard to making resources more accessible to Black women founders?
Hard to ask.
Repeat that again for us, Indy.
Who would you say is leading the way in regard to making resources more accessible to Black women founders?
In KC?
KC, nationally, anything.
That depends on which city you're in. Truly, it depends on which city you're in.
I agree with that.
So what do you think? So locally, who do you think is kind of at least attempting to spearhead this or attempting to push that narrative or remove the stigma?
For women innovators. Lauren.
Innovators, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Lauren. That's
Lauren. Casey SourceLink. Obviously the Navigator, Jill.
The Navigator.
The Navigator.
Yes, the Kaufman Foundation is doing a huge opportunities for women, for Black businesses as a whole. So I would have to definitely shout out Kaufman Foundation.
Yeah.
That's awesome. They just did a feature on 2 of our cohort graduates, which Bliss Books and Wine, I just give a shout out, and then Unleashed. It's a plus size retail shop on shoes.
Nice.
And so they just did a really dope write-up on both of those organizations. So good. So we got a lot of opportunities, sounds like.
Yeah. There's no
So we have some space right now to actually be better.
We have a lot of space to be better. I mean, a lot of room to be better.
That's something that I just working in the community sector is that it's not so much when we talk about resources, I'm specifically not talking about financial resources. Okay, just want to put that out there. I am talking about everything else, educational resources, all of that. I do think that there's a disconnect with knowing, because the way the entrepreneurial community is set up right now, if you don't already know someone who can at least start you down the right path, you don't even know where to go to start. Like if the only reason that I am as connected as I am is because I went to UMKC for entrepreneurship. And that is where my connection started, and they went out from there. But if I were just a person from the KCK side, which is where I'm from, right, and didn't really know anyone over here on the Missouri side, where would I start? Where would I go? Where I know that, the Jill and Sally have this program. Would I know about Fast Track? Would I know that Kaufman is something other than the Royal Stadium? Like, would I know these things? And I don't think that I would. So there's got to be a way to get that information to people who aren't already somehow connected.
Two things to that. I mean, because even when I started out, this space wasn't available. This ecosystem was not available to me as a Black woman, period, in tech. I mean, because I started doing websites, like, I'm not going to tell my age right now. I started doing website years before, there was all these WordPress and Wix and all of this. I mean, I literally had to do things by hand, scratch. So, but this ecosystem was not available. So I had no one to turn to ask questions. How do I scale? How do I find a developer? How do I find a graphic designer? How do I find this person to help me with my finance? None of that was available. So the resources in Kansas City, I have to commend right now. But I would like to hear from Felicia, because you did say, as far as in Kansas City, it could be, a little bit different in other cities. So how is it and I'm just asking the question, how is it in Miami, Florida, what type of resources are available?
Sorry. We're fortunate enough that we have some national organizations that have planted roots in Miami specifically as it relates to supporting Black, female founders. And so, Shelly Bell's organization, Black Girl Ventures, launched a hub here. Black Women Talk Tech had their big virtual conference yesterday. They now have a chapter in Miami as well. And And I think when you're talking about like kind of national partners that can either be attracted to a city or, I mean, everything is virtual right now. And so being able to access some of those resources a little bit more accessible, not kind of tied to specific locations. And so, Digital Undivided, I mean, they're based in Atlanta, I think in New Jersey, but they have a long history of supporting Black women founders. And a lot of the founders that you're seeing right now that are absolutely killing it had some sort of beginning touch point with Digital Undivided, whether it was the conference, the Focus 100, or being a part of the accelerator, or just even being able to kind of make the business case for why you should be funding Black women in their city using their Project Diane reports. So I think it's the national organizations, and then what does that mean to kind of cultivate those things locally as well? It starts with Dan and your team and like these kind of conversations, and then at the end of the day, it's also holding people accountable, like absolutely using these things to hold people accountable and say this should not be a one-time thing, right? And it's an ongoing conversation that really needs to lead to some serious funding and some serious like resources if we're talking about being transformational for Black women. 2-3 years ago, everyone was touting in every publication possible that Black women are the largest or the fastest growing sector of people entrepreneurship. And if you really kind of follow what happens, what you didn't see were the resources didn't increase.
Exactly.
Absolutely insane. Absolutely. So every publication talked about Black women are killing it and starting businesses like ever before. Why didn't the funding increase? And who held them accountable to that? Absolutely. On one hand, and then not also give the resources for those kind of strides to continue, and that is some of the problems that can be combated.
Yeah.
So the really cool thing about Facebook Live is the fact that it can be replayed.
Yeah.
Right. So when Felicia was talking about a lot of those areas and those opportunities in different areas that might not necessarily be in Kansas City,
right?
Replay that.
Absolutely.
Hit that replay button.
Yes.
And let's see, where that goes, right? Because I think it's important for us to know where those other resources are outside of what we're familiar with.
Exactly.
Right? It gives us an opportunity to get a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And most of this is uncomfortable, right? But even more, right? Even more.
And that was the main reason why I wanted her to speak on that, because I've followed Felicia and I've seen all of these amazing opportunities and resources that are outside of Kansas City. And how do we funnel that? How do we play off of that and funnel that into Kansas City? Not whether we have to go get that exact same organization, but something similar. Or how can we open up the doors? Yes, 2-3 years ago, Black women are doing all of these amazing things. Yes, we are. That's what we do. But the funds open up. So absolutely. So thank you for that, Felicia. I appreciate it.
Janae, I've been seeing you kind of like fidget over here, ready to get this, trying to get this out. You got to get this out. What's your thoughts?
No, I think I have a unique experience when it comes to this. I did not grow up in Kansas City. I moved here last June. And that's when I started the market base. And I've gotten this far in such a short period of time because, one, someone who was in the ecosystem reached back and brought me, and like really like a big brother, big sisters for tech entrepreneurs. So I'm still excited it's ours. But it really comes down to that. Reaching back, I can go online and Google whatever, which I did do. Casey Sourcelink, you have good SEO. But if you need more, but yeah, that is what introduced me to the ecosystem. And I can say I've been an entrepreneur in lots of states. I came from DC. I would have never made it this quickly in DC. I was in Texas. I would have never done it this quickly in Texas.
I chose Kansas City, one, because one of my co-founders here, but two, I had read an article and I can't even remember where it was, but it was pretty much applauding KC and saying how it was the next up and coming tech hub and great entrepreneur ecosystem. And I said, you know what do I have to lose? I'm moving anyway. Let's try Kansas City. And here I am, and it's the best decision that I've made. So kudos to the ecosystem and every organization that's working together to help entrepreneurs.
I think a few years ago there was really this, and I think the push is still here. There's the initiative out of the chamber and some other partnering organizations to make Kansas City the most entrepreneurial city in the community.
Most entrepreneurial community, mecca.
In the community.
In America.
So, and I know that there were a lot of write-ups and there were a lot of, signals as to why we were leading that way or lending that way or whatever the case may be. But what we saw was that was actually they were just talking to a specific area in Kansas City, right? That wasn't all of Kansas City. And I think that that was a big problem. And that was a part of the reason why we kind of started what we started, because we talked about the gaps in education and all these other areas that we could help with. That was our goal, right? So we're going to enhance this whole Kansas City being the most entrepreneurial, but it's not just going to come from a little pocket in the city. We're actually going to open that up. Right.
It's not going to come from crossovers.
Right. We're going to open that up a little bit. Jill, do you, what's your thoughts over there? I know we've got a lot of first week shout outs and some shout outs and all this good stuff. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, it's an amazing conversation, and I'm sorry that my phone kicked me out at least 4 times so far. But I've been taking pages of notes of the conversation has been so powerful and so many right-on observations, even down to what you were just saying about the making America's most entrepreneurial city, even what that looked like 6 years ago as far as conceptually and what it can look like now, and from a point of a greater conclusion, what wasn't for just a pocket. Janae, I love the idea of a big brother, big sister.
It's mine.
I know you were joking, but it is. Yeah, I mean, I know you were joking, but yet the concept is really what actually needs to be happening on a frequent and regular basis, right? I think there's so much room for improvement every single day, and yet at the same time, I think when I look back to where it has been, just in the short period of time that I've been involved with it, there have been improvements, there are opportunities. There's just, the gap is so big that little improvements in the gap may not always be recognized, but it is definitely moving. There's just a long way to go. And so I think so much of it is about the access. There's kind of the common thought you all probably be looking at quality of access, and there's equity of access. And having that opportunity for resources and the quality of access back when people are in the K-12 system and understanding it is incredibly foundationally important to being able to then have equity outcomes a decade or 2 decades later. And so I think what you're talking about is dead on point for what Kansas City needs to be thinking, and not just Kansas City, but embrace the ideas from other parts of the country right now.
Awesome. So Jill, you actually had a question also. So that could, if you want to just go ahead and ask the question that you have. I think Jill's connection's a little poppy. So Jill,
The question is, can you still hear me?
we can hear you. Yeah.
questions that I was going to ask really was Lauren's question hit a lot on that about what resources can be there to really help Black women in tech thrive. And so I might even focus a little bit on the tech aspect, right? So what can Black women in the tech business need more so that we haven't talked about so far? What resources allow a tech business to get that validation from a funder, from resources, from that scale? I think what Carlon was saying about not having someone look at it and have to have that validation, right? It shouldn't have to be that way. So what are those other things that need to be seen in tech that might be different than a Main Street business?
I want to add to Jill's question too, a little bit, because there's a conversation about the opportunity to work with in corporate environments, because corporations are trying to figure out how to better support entrepreneurs, and I know Carlinda has a perspective in there because you came from a large tech company, but what opportunities are there from a corporate perspective to bring like women in tech, Black women in tech, whoever, to use like space that they have maybe to come and test products or create things, because they have like lab environments and things like that, that's open resource. So is that a thing? Like, I don't know, like I know that there's a conversation going on right now, but I don't know.
Is it a thing? With my former employer is very stingy. So that is not a thing with them. However, it could be a thing. And I think to sort of answer a part of your question and a part of Jill's question is what can be done to sort of bridge that gap, to stand in the gap, is to make a commitment. So if you are a tech corporation, or not even a tech corporation, but a company, an established company that needs tech things done, make a commitment that you will look for and a Black woman to fill that need for you. Because you're not going to happen upon it. It has to be intentional. And, you know, people say underrepresented. It's not representation. It's just that you're not looking, right? It's not that there's not a pipeline issue. It's just that you're not looking, and you're not looking hard enough. So I think that it's just making a commitment, making a decision to make sure that this percentage of my contracts are going to go to Black women tech founders, or something in along those veins.
Yeah, I like to think of ideas. It's my jam. So, Jill, when you were talking, I was thinking of ways that, you know, we could, as tech founders, the type of support personally that I needed was I wanted people to test my software. If companies would give us a space, real companies, real tech companies had programs specifically for us, Black women tech founders, who have just developed this MVP. I want you to come in and say, hey, no, this sucks.
Absolutely.
Or, hey, you're on the right track. You're so much on the right track that we're going to help you get it to the next level.
There you go.
If there was some type of program in Kansas City that spoke to that, or spoke to us in that way, or provided a resource in that way, that would eliminate a lot of BS that we deal with pitching to investors, because now we come with this validation and saying, you know what, this prestigious program in Kansas City has looked at our stuff already. You don't need to ask us, have we tested this with someone, or has someone looked at this? Yes, actually, a company that, you know, makes $1 billion a year has looked at it and said, yeah, you're on track. So do you want to fund it or not? Because I'm moving on. All right.
I love it. I love that. Anybody else want to chime in? Dr. Cooper, Felicia, what you think?
Well, I think I came from corporate years ago. I put headphones in. I was just about to do that, so I hope you can hear me better. I don't know. Can you?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. I came from corporate years ago, and it was an environment where there are certain people that were picked to excel, and other people were kind of cast off and discarded. And I think in the corporate environment, there is opportunity for them to make money, and there's opportunity for them to provide an avenue for Black women in tech to succeed. So again, we have the product, we have the experience, we have the education, we can do this if we just get the right opportunity to make it happen.
Felicia, go ahead.
I was going to button that up and just say, we're talking about specifically Black women in tech, but the issues that Black women in tech face are pervasive throughout the lives of Black women. This is not just like a tech thing. It is so I think it's deeper than just what can you do in the tech community. It is, as a person, you can stop underestimating Black women. You can consider, take away the preconceived notions. Like if I speak harshly to you, it's not because I'm an angry Black woman, it's because you did something to make me mad, right? And I think we're fighting those biases. Right, we're fighting those anyway every day, but then in the tech community, which is a predominantly white male run community, it is tenfold. It is tenfold, particularly in corporations. I have had people speak to me in ways that I would have, if I didn't get a paycheck, I would have sung with them. So and that doesn't happen to other men. They wouldn't talk to you that way. They wouldn't talk to a white woman that way. They only speak to us that way, right? And so I think it is just being conscious that it's not just in the tech community. And I don't want that to get lost here. Even though we're talking about Black women in tech, this is a Black women thing. This is a Black women in life thing. And I don't want it to get lost.
Absolutely. Jill, I want that, and I apologize because on our end, it's real, like when we click you in, it's real choppy, so we can't really clearly hear you. So that's why James is back here meeting, so we make sure that we keep it pretty clean. But did that kind of answer the questions that you had? Do you have any follow up to that?
No, and I know I can hear it on my end how choppy it is, so that's fine to keep muting me. But no, that actually gave a lot, and I would love to have more of this conversation. Carlonda, what you were saying about stop underestimating, and I was reminded, for those of you who know Joni Wickham, and the book that she recently released with about the role that someone else can play to validate you. And she talked about how some guys would bring her into a room and say, she's sitting here at the table, and then that level of validation, and everybody looks for different things. And I think that is something that maybe we haven't talked about. It's a really big role for our community, and all allies kind of say, what else can I do? Is make that validation, make that and say, this individual is incredibly talented and incredible, and I want you to listen and make that door open so they don't have to stand there by themselves.
Yes. Be an accomplice.
Be an accomplice. Thank you. Yes.
Awesome. So, Jay, do we have any questions or a couple comments out there really quick before?
Somebody has some questions in the chat.
Yeah, in the chat.
In the private chat.
There was one question. There was someone that asked a question about they were brand new to tech. They're trying to change. Here it is. I'm looking to make a career change and have zero experience in the tech world. Is it more beneficial to start by getting certifications, or should I pursue a degree? That's Brittany Mitchell.
So Brittany said, is it in her better interest to just get certificates, or to actually go and try to get a degree in tech? Like if she has zero background in tech, and I'm assuming that from the developer standpoint.
Do you code? Absolutely not.
Do you code? I do.
She doesn't code.
I do not code. Dr. Shelly does not code, and here we are.
It depends on what you're trying to do. If you are trying to write code, you should learn how to.
I wouldn't say you have to get a degree, but I'm a self-taught software developer, so. And I've made a very lucrative living. So, I mean, if you would like to, it just really depends on, how fast you want to get into technology. Mm-hmm. You can definitely do it with certifications. You can just start wherever you are. That's how I
Scratch is free, isn't it?
Scratch is free.
What do you think about that? What do you think about starting in tech from scratch? What does that look like? Felicia, can you hear us? I think you're on mute.
And then, of course, is she talking or is she?
She's muted.
I'm sorry, y'all. About the person wanting to get into the tech industry and then should they get a degree and should they get certification? That question?
Yep, that's the question.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, that's the question. Yep.
Yeah, I think even before you get to that point, and I feel like someone may have hinted on that. Like, what is your intention? Like, what do you want to ultimately accomplish? If that is a large part of where how you should start steering what direction, are they still out? I'm sorry.
Are we still? Okay. So it sounds like we might have some, I don't know, a connection issue there. But yeah, I mean, I think we kind of summed that up just by starting.
Just starting. You are.
Yeah, that's.
I know that's sometimes a frustrating answer.
I just thought about that. I mean, there's so many types of boot camps. Just build your own table. Bring your own table. There's boot camps available. There's different online courses that are available that can help you get started.
Yeah.
And if you feel that you want to go to college and you want to actually get a degree, absolutely, by all means, definitely do it. But you can start at a very reasonable cost if finances is an issue for you. There's so many different type of, free boot camps. I wouldn't pay, there's some that are, very costly, but try some online classes first to see if you actually like technology.
Yeah. And if you want to be a coder or not.
Right. If you want to be a coder or not.
If you don't want to write code, you don't need to get any kind of certification or anything.
Yeah.
You just need to be able to understand and talk to someone who can write code.
Exactly.
And you can do that by just reading Google.
So there's so many other careers. I mean, project management, business analyst, UX, UI. So there's all different career paths, not just a coder.
So this kind of leads into the last question that I had for you all. What advice would you give the younger you, knowing what you know now? What advice would you give to the younger you that's still focused on getting into technology, getting into tech somehow, some way? What advice would you give the younger self? And that's for everybody.
We're going to start over there first because I got to think.
Dr. Cooper, what you think?
I know.
I think I would ask myself, what am I afraid of and what am I waiting for? By the time the best time comes along, there's not going to be a best time. And by the time you muster up enough nerve to either make that phone call or sign up for that class, time's going to go by. So just jump, just dive in, and don't wait for somebody to approve you and give you permission, give yourself permission to do what you need to do. You're going to make mistakes, everybody does, but I would rather make mistakes than not do anything and then make the mistake of not having tried.
Right.
I would, for me, giving my younger self advice of two quick things. Tony Robbins says, the quality, and I just posted this on Facebook, the quality of your questions determine the quality of your life. So I would be telling myself to ask much better questions of myself or people around me, for sure. The other part of that, if I was to give my past of advice based off of 2020, it would be, this is big ask season, ASK. It says ASK. It's big ask season. And so closed mouths don't get fed. This is our moment right now. It is our moment. It is our moment. It is our moment. And so ask the big, audacious, impossible ask because you deserve it. And this is our moment. We've got other advice to myself and everyone else.
Awesome. That's good. Yeah.
About tech, what did I tell my life in general?
Is it this ain't it?
I would tell myself it's not as hard as you think it is. Yeah. It's not as hard as you think it is. It's not as bad as you think it is. And I would also tell my younger self, if you were a white male, would you ask yourself these same questions? Mm-hmm. Would you doubt yourself the same way? I actually got that from a friend of mine. A friend of mine, Michelle. She had to say, she was like, "Well, the white boys do it." So that's like a real thing because there's like this level of confidence that you have when you know. I'm probably going, like if I shoot my shot, it's going to go in. Yeah. So I would just tell myself, have that same level of confidence. Mm-hmm. Don't doubt yourself because they're not as smart as you think they are. And you're smarter than you think you are. That's right. Mm-hmm. You started that one. That one you started. You are smarter than you think you are. You are smarter than you think you are. And specifically, don't allow anyone to tell you that you can't. Mm-hmm. Don't allow anybody to tell you that you can't. Even if you think it is too hard, never let them see you sweat. Never let them see you cry, because you will cry. So you will sweat, you will cry. But never let them see that. And don't allow your environment or your atmosphere to define who you are. Just do it. It's Nike phrase, ain't it? Just do it. It is. Okay. That's so Nike phrase. You got to pay some money.
What you think?
I've just been listening. I haven't really thought about an answer. Even right now, I live my life. I run my company with a microscope in one hand and a telescope in the other. And I think as a child, I only had a microscope. I never really thought about what's going to happen next, as most children probably do not. And at that point, it was my mom holding the telescope and kind of tapping me on the shoulder like, hey, yeah, sounds great right now. But what about when you're grown? What about when you're in high school? What about when you're this? So my advice would probably been, one, to listen to her, but two, take the telescope and look, your decisions. Make sure we're thinking long term here, but do everything the same as well. So I don't know.
No change. Good movie, dude. Good movie. What you think?
Thanks for letting me listen.
Anytime.
That's what I think. Thanks for letting me listen.
Always have something to say.
Always. I wanna challenge everybody with questions to pick up a damn book. Read a book. There's a lot of them out there. Read one. Oh man, that's a wicked close up. That is not fair. Pick up a book, think, listen. Take your chance right now to listen. While you are out there white ladying around, just take a listen.
Karen.
Yes, Karen. Just listen. I'm Karen. Just listen, Morgan. Sit down for a little while and listen and know that you don't have to sweep in and solve anything.
No, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah, like, why don't you have a focus group? Have one.
I need you to say
Do that. Yeah. No, Renee, you don't need to be like, everyone stop the meeting. We have some issues we need to address. Don't need that.
Don't need it.
Let's have a listen. Let's collaborate.
we need more Morgan.
We need more Morgan. Can you imagine? I think we just solved like so many issues, so many gaps, right, that are out there just got plugged.
For a black woman.
Absolutely, 100%. 100%. Like we just said, what is it? The Big Brothers, Big Sisters?
Read a book.
Big Brothers, Big Sisters idea. I think we just
Stop saying it.
What do you think over there? What do you think? What's your last thoughts? Any parting thoughts?
I would just say thank you to everyone for being super just open and transparent about your experiences navigating like Kansas City's ecosystem, and then Felicia, we appreciate like your national perspective. I think this is definitely a good place to start for lots of like entrepreneurship support organizations that are looking to figure out ways to better support Black women. I think it starts with conversations like this and being able to actually listen to Black women. And I'm hopeful, I would say, about just the future of Kansas City's ecosystem and just nationally and globally. I'm hopeful to just see what's next and what resources are going to become more available for Black women.
The execution.
That's awesome. Dr. Cooper?
I will say execution.
Sure.
I'm just overwhelmed, so I'm taking a moment here. I'm just so proud of everybody in this night. I think it's life changing. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Felicia?
One thing really quick. I would love, as we continue these conversations about Black women and confidence and overcoming imposter syndrome, that we move away from using white men's confidence and bad behavior as a barometer in which we stand up with audacity. There's so many dope black women that have paved the way, into which I aspire to be having their audacity, right? I'm not trying to duplicate white men's poor behavior and their privilege when we have too many images of bold black women that have been paved the way for us, that we should be more like them. And we should channel their confidence. And every no that led to a yes is because of them paving the way for us. Right. And I mean, we joke about it, but it also irks me, right? I have friends that talk about channel the energy of a wealthy white woman. Well, no, I actually want to channel the energy of Majora Carter or Madam C.J. Walker, because they were bold.
Say that.
Right? That is what I want, and I hope we can start changing the narrative of that conversation. It doesn't dismiss the bad behavior or the privilege, but I think there is another level in which we should be aspiring our boldness and our confidence, and that's rooted in Black women. We have to be twice as good. Why? Because we are twice as good, right? We are magic because we are magical.
That's right.
Body more, and I think change that narrative of the conversations and stories that we tell ourselves just a little bit.
Phenomenal.
I want to give you a virtual hug here, like that. A COVID hug.
Good.
You know, there is nothing to say after that. That is fantastic. I love the word audacious. I think we should be using it all the time. So I just am just going to say I'm so inspired, and thank you for allowing me to listen and learn. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Do we have like a to-do list after this?
We do.
You know, a lot of times these conversations, they happen, and then everything just kind of falls to the wayside, and all of the vigor and excitement dies down. And this moment here on the stage and this moment in history, I don't want that to happen. I am so petrified of that happening. Like these discussions just fizzling out, and diversity becoming heard and or continuing to be a buzzword. It's a buzzword. You know, so what next? Like, what do we do?
So the cool thing, and I'm glad you asked that, right? And I'm not about to give this profound answer, right? Like, we already knew that you were going to say that, and this is what we got coming up next. No, this is not how it works. But I want to acknowledge the way that this thing came about in the first place, this discussion, because it leads to an opportunity for what's next. We have these conversations, Morgan and I and Sharon had these conversations after our shows, and we say, hey, so what's next? What are we doing next, right? And so maybe 3 weeks ago, Iamd actually just randomly emailed us, right, and said, hey, Digital Sandbox has an idea, and they love what you guys are doing, and love what you guys are your Wednesday discussions and whatnot. We want to try to support you guys somehow, some way, right? And let's figure this out. So this was us figuring that out. This is what we came up with throughout those conversations, right?
Thank you.
And so, but it didn't stop there. Iamd said, and Jill said, hey, we don't want this to be a one-time thing. We actually want to create a partnership to figure out something that we can do, right? Not just one conversation, but we want to do some things that actually matter, right? So the dope thing about that is you just held our feet to the fire because we are obligated to do something next. And I know Iamd and Jill with Digital Sandbox, UMKC, and everyone else in between are excited about really kind of doubling down on these conversations and trying to get some actionable things to happen outside of these conversations. So I'm glad you said that, and it did lead to that. So,
let's host the podcast where we have these conversations every week.
There we go.
There we go. So any party words?
Just as our host.
There you go. Any party words? So what you saying? Would you know? Hold on. Not nobody else in here. Just us three. You're like, hey, I didn't pop out. I
was 1, 2, 3, 4.
Morgan can come. Oh man, that's messed up. All right. Any party words?
I just want to thank everyone. I mean, this is amazing. You know, like you said, what are the next steps? What's next? And those are one of my hashtags that I always say, what's next? So I just want to thank everyone that participated. I know we had some youth from WeCode KC in the chat doing some things if they had some questions. I'm sorry we didn't get to them. But just thank everyone for actually being a part, tuning in. We really appreciate Porterhouse. You guys are doing amazing. I love jumping on Wednesdays and just seeing what you guys are doing. So thank you, Morgan, Sharon. I hate you're not here. But so just keep the conversation going. We have to, because like you said, diversity is a buzzword now. Mm-hmm. You know, stop it. Make the change. Stop talking about it and make that change. Be intentional about changing. Be intentional about adding Black women, Black men in technology. Don't just talk about it. You know, be about it.
I second that.
Awesome.
That's my last words.
And third.
So,
come by, God bless you, good night.
right. So you have experienced extra large version of our What's Next, our Wednesday conversations with the Porterhouse KC, Square One Business Services. And we have a lot of other partners this week. We have Digital Sandbox. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
FlexPod, we appreciate you guys. Kaufman Foundation, we appreciate you. Chess Inc., we appreciate you. Who am I leaving out?
The library.
Square One.
Square One Business Services. Yeah, the library.
No, I think you've got it.
Okay.
But I think most importantly, the people that you're leaving out are the people who tuned in tonight
Yep.
Absolutely.
to watch this, because that means that, you know, you can have the best conversation in the world, but sometimes the most important thing about it is that it needed to reach more people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we rewind
Jeez,
this,
Morgan, you're on it.
rewind this and listen to it again, and you know.
Morgan has the answer.
Yeah. So again, we appreciate you for tuning in to this week's episode. We appreciate Global Entrepreneurship Week for doing what you do and allowing these platforms to occur and happen. So yeah, I guess there's nothing else for us to.
Sarah Moat came to our program tonight, and she had the choice of like 47 GEW programs to attend, and she came to ours. Wow.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
And a marketing genius, but
Good to see you, Sarah.
That's awesome.
Thank you to our guests. Thank you to everybody. We appreciate you guys. And JB, you can actually hit that in stream button on the Facebook page. Peace.
Where's the music?
Thanks, everyone.
I know. Bye-bye.
Out music.
Talk soon.
Awesome.